Welcome, everybody, to this week's episode of The Expendable Show. As everybody knows, I've been getting a lot more followers and views, so I do this. I try to do it on Wednesdays. Sometimes I travel and I don't make it back in time, but I try to do Wednesdays and every Sunday. So if you like my show, like, subscribe, and ding the bell. For those of you Democrats out there, welcome to my propaganda show. That's what you guys always tell me. I'm just a bunch of propaganda. I take that as a compliment. So let's go through statistics every week or every episode. We do the statistics and see if anything's changed. So Doge hasn't really done anything. They made that update on the last week, but they haven't done anything this week. They're at 199 billion, which is $1,236.02 per taxpayer. On the debt clock, they're at 575 billion, 5,125 per taxpayer. It's drastically slowed down since Elon's been gone. Gas prices. So in 2024, Joe Biden stroked us with $3.30 a gallon gas. Today, we're at $3.14, according to AAA average. Mortgage rates. So after President Trump last week blasted Jerome Powell in front of the entire world, Jerome Powell responded and raised the interest rates. Joe Biden had us at 6.7% on average. We are at 6.84%. We were below Joe Biden. Now we're above Joe Biden again. I don't know why we even compare this to presidents. This is pretty much Jerome Powell. The worst Fed, whatever his job title is, ever. Big jump this week in Trump's approval rating. He went up 0.9%. So he was at 45.4. Now he's jumped up to 46.3. This is from Real Clear polling. For those of you who don't know how that works, basically President Trump, they basically take all the polls and they average them together because all the polls are different. They're all like 10 points from each other. So they basically just takes them and averages them all together. That's what I go by because averages are more accurate than just taking the CBS poll or the Fox News poll. The Dow Jones. So when I wrote my outline today, the Dow hadn't closed yet. So we'll see what we're looking at here. So it closed today at $44,461.28. So we're still hovering around that record mark. We actually did break the record like last week. We hit like 45,004. So Trump does own the record. He owns the record on all of the money sites. So this week we're going to talk about a little bit about the FBI files because some new things have come up, and my dog wants to decide to eat while I'm doing my podcast, like right now. I done had food in her bowl for like an hour, and I want to start my podcast, and now she wants to eat. Attention. She just wants attention. But let's talk about hidden FBI files because we found some. Where, might you ask? Well, let's find out. FBI Director Kash Patel found a trove of sensitive documents related to the origins of the Trump-Russia probe buried in multiple burn bags in a secret room inside the Bureau. Like, I feel like this is weird a little bit. Like, I'm glad they found it, but I feel like it's a bit weird because, like, where did this secret room just happen? Like, did nobody know for all these years there was a secret room? Or what's up with the secret room? I'm really confused by it, but I'll take it because it had a bunch of hidden stuff in it. So the burn bag system is used to destroy documents designated as classified or higher. So when they don't want things to get leaked out or whatnot, they take it to put them in a burn bag and they get torched. So that way those things don't get out. It's stuff that they don't want to keep. They don't want records of. So there were multiple burn bags found in this room and filled with thousands of documents is what they're reporting. One of the documents FBI officials found in a burn bag was the classified annex to former special counsel John Durham's final report, which includes the underlying intelligence that he reviewed. So it's basically everything John Durham saw is now going to be in the hands of Kash Patel, which is good. The declassified annex will be transmitted to Senate Judiciary Committee Chairman Chuck Grassley, who ultimately will release the document to the public. Chuck Grassley. That guy, he's really old. I don't think he's got a lot longer left in Congress. Of course, I might be wrong. These guys seem to want to stay there forever. Chuck Grassley's no different. He's one of those people that needs to get up out of there. He does a good job. He's just like, if I'm going to poke Maxine Waters for being a career politician, then I got to poke Chuck Grassley too. That's just how I can't be a hypocrite. So the U.S. intelligence community had credible foreign sources indicating that the FBI would play a role in spreading the alleged Trump-Russia collusion narrative before the Bureau ever launched this controversial Crossfire Hurricane probe. So Kash Patel was on Joe Rogan, and I watched it. And Joe Rogan, his show is like 3 hours long, so I just kind of skipped around a little bit. So Patel told Joe Rogan, he said, just think about this. Me as the director of the FBI, the former Russiagate guy, when I first got to the Bureau, found a room that Comey and others hid from the world in the Hoover building full of documents and computer hard drives that no one had ever seen or heard of, locked the key and hid access and just said, no one's ever going to find this place. I mean, think about if you're Kash Patel, you've got all these there's not just one FBI building. There's more. There's a lot more. So they could have had stuff stashed anywhere. And the FBI also has buildings that aren't like office buildings that they have. So they could have hid stuff anywhere. Luckily, it didn't make it very far, and somebody was able to find it. I'm guessing somebody knew about it, and they went to Kash Patel and said, hey, you want to see something cool? I know where there's a secret room. It reminds me of that show that's on Netflix, the Lock and Key show, where they put a key in, it takes you to a different world or something. That's what it reminds me of. So the dossier, these French words, it was authorized by Christopher Steele, an ex-British intelligence officer, and commissioned by Fusion GPS, which is Hillary Clinton's presidential campaign, hired Fusion GPS during the 2016 election cycle. That sounds really credible. Hillary Clinton hired somebody who hired Christopher Steele to go look into her presidential opponent. And these Democrats don't see how that adds up. This is the most preposterous thing ever. It's the most obvious scam and act of treason, in my opinion, that I've ever seen. So you've got Hillary's caught red-handed. It doesn't matter. She needs to go to jail. And Trump called it out back then, and he was right. And hopefully the Patel and Pam Bondi decide that the best place for Hillary would be to spend some time behind bars. And Christopher Steele as well, because for one, why are we trusting a British intelligence officer? That's stupid. So the memo referred to closed-door testimony from former FBI deputy director Andrew McCabe, who's a clown, who said that no surveillance warrant would have been sought from the FISA court without the Steele dossier information. So he's saying okay, so they needed certain things to get a FISA warrant, and they couldn't have got it without the Steele dossier. They didn't have enough until the dossier came in. So that's a big hunk of admittance right there. Like they knew they didn't have it, so somebody fabricated it. However, when applying for the FISA warrant, the FBI omitted the origins of the dossier, specifically its funding from Clinton, who was Trump's 2016 presidential opponent, because they knew that they were not going to get a FISA warrant with Hillary Clinton's name all over it, that's very corrupt. That's a very corrupt thing of them to do. I don't care what side of the fence you're on. That's corrupt. The memo also said Steele, who worked as an FBI informant, was eventually cut off from the Bureau for what the FBI described as the most serious of violations. What's the most serious of violations that he could have committed? Hopefully they tell us someday. So that's what's transcribed, this week with some of the new stuff from the FBI. I'm not real sure. Like, it's hard for me to gauge that in. And I think a lot of people are in the same boat. Like, nobody really believes anything's going to happen because we've never seen this in modern America where these high ranking officials get arrested, other than Donald Trump. I know you can throw Bannon in there and some of Trump's people, but they really weren't, like, they didn't really hold like a high rank of anything. Trump, that drew some outrage when they went after him. But to see somebody on the Democrat side that's high ranking like that, if they wheel Hillary Clinton out and Comey, hey, what's up, G bro? So if they wheel some of those people out in cuffs and make them do the perp walk, I'm probably going to be in shock. I'm not going to lie. I'm going to be happy, but I'm going to be going, oh my God, I can't believe they actually did it. And it's just going to be something that we're not used to in our culture and in our norms, as to seeing our high ranking politicians get arrested for serious charges. I mean, if they're going to arrest them, I'll guarantee there's going to be some big, heavy charges. So now I want to move into the situation that happened down in Cincinnati. And I know this isn't going to be everybody's favorite topic, but I'm going to give you my spiel because I watched the extra footage that even Fox News doesn't show. There is more to the story, so I'm gonna talk about that in its full length. So the man who was beaten in the recent viral incident in downtown Cincinnati has not been publicly named by the authorities. Neither has the woman that was with him, that I'm assuming was his wife. This happened on July 26th at about 3 a.m. near 4th and Elm Street in Cincinnati. There was a crowd of about 100 people that witnessed they call it a brawl. I'm not going to classify it as a brawl. A brawl means a lot of people fighting back at each other. Videos showed the man being chased, punched, kicked, and stomped by multiple individuals. A woman who tried to intervene was also knocked unconscious. Police have arrested several suspects, including Montanez Merriweather, Dakira Vernon, and Jermaine Matthews on charges of felonious assault and aggravated riot. The victims were treated for non-life-threatening injuries and released from the hospital. The incident has sparked national outrage and political commentary, but the full context and motivation behind the attack remain under investigation. Okay, so all the media is only showing you like a tiny little piece of it. So I have seen the whole video. This whole thing started because the man who was beat smacked one of the guys right off the bat. He instigated the fight. Now, he's at fault for that. That's on him. He deserved an ass whooping. However, when it became more than one person attacking him, that's where the crowd is wrong. Okay? So the crowd is wrong in that regard. So there's fault there. Then there's fault with the crowd. Now, the woman, when you watch the video, she got completely sucker punched and knocked unconscious for trying to help kind of break things up. That's not acceptable, and she was doing nothing wrong. So whoever did that, they're going to be in the wrong too, which I'm pretty sure it's the Dakira Vernon lady. I think that's the one that punched her. So that's my gist of that. I mean, I just think there was a lot of stuff wrong in that whole thing. Everybody kind of is at fault except the woman. So I think everybody needs to just relax on that. I've seen a lot of people talk about it. And like, there are people out there saying, hey, the guy slapped him first. If you're going to put your hands on somebody, you better expect to fight. And that's what happened, except he got beat up by like probably 15 different people. So that part of it was wrong. So that's my take on that. Take it or leave it. Law's the law. So I'm going to give you guys a quick update on the tariffs. So some of the works that have happened this week, I know I'm so tired of the tariffs. I wish they'd hurry up and get these deadlines done and everybody get their deals done so we can stop talking about it. But the European Union agreed to a 15% tariff. It's down from the threatened 30%, and committed $750 billion in U.S. energy purchases and $600 billion in investments. That's been the key that's been missing from our situation with the European Union. They were over tariffing us, and then they weren't buying anything and they weren't investing in us. And so Trump has massively fixed that. That is a huge deal for America. And the liberal media is not going to come out and tell you that. And they're going to say, well, he's bullying European Union, our friends and our allies. Well, I don't care about that. Screw Europe. We got to fix our financial problems here. So Japan locked in a 15% tariff. Instead, they were proposed a 25% tariff. So they're down to 15% now. They pledged $550 billion in U.S. investments, plus increased imports of American rice and agricultural goods. So that's a better deal for us too. We've now started to sell goods to Japan, which we weren't selling that much to Japan before. The Philippines settled on a 19% tariff, slightly lower than the proposed 20%. So they made a deal. Philippines didn't want to come off their 20. So Trump said, okay, we'll do 19. They said, well, all right, fine. So that's done. So there's additional terms in transshipments and U.S. Export exemptions. So they did some different stuff when it comes to the importing and exporting part of it. The United Kingdom earlier deal set a 10% tariff rate and allowed 100,000 cars to be exported annually at that rate. So there's a deal there. We're now selling some cars in Europe, which we weren't really doing that before. And the United Kingdom got the best deal out of everybody. China, the China virus. So they're in talks to extend a 90-day truce. So China's asking for more time. The current tariffs were reduced from 145% to 30%. So they're not getting as taxed as what they were. So that's a good sign for China, and it definitely let them know that we're not playing. So they're basically begging us for time. Now there's got to be a certain point where Trump's got to put his foot down and say, look, China, I've given you two or three extensions. Now it's time for you guys to make a deal. If you're not going to make a deal, then you're going to be stuck at 30%. Sorry, not sorry. So there's still several countries that really haven't made too much of a difference. So Canada's really not cooperating. They're facing 35% tariff in a couple days. Mexico, they're threatened with a 30% tariff, which, it could hit Texas, but everything Mexico does, we can do. They're bracing for massive 50% tariff on all imports in Brazil. Screw Brazil. India. So we were making progress with India. And we actually were really close to having a locked-in deal. But India screwed up because they got caught selling arms to Russia. So Trump slapped that. He said, hey, you guys keep doing this, you're going to be paying 25%. So India's kind of in the doghouse right now, and they need to get it together. Then you have South Korea, Taiwan, and others. They're still negotiating and waiting on final decisions. With some of the stuff that I do, Taiwan is an important importer, exporter for me and my business relationships with them. So is India. So is China. And Malaysia. So I'm hoping that we can get all these done because it just complicates things when you try to work with these countries and get some of these things right. So next, I know a lot of my new followers are the Kentucky people, so I'm pretty sure they get excited when I get to the Kentucky stuff. So I'm just going to basically go over some of the stuff I've already put on TikTok because I know there's some people out there they can't get on TikTok or they don't want to get on TikTok because of the whole China thing. I understand. So I'm going to kind of recap some of the TikTok stuff that I made. So I covered a lot of the career politicians in Kentucky. I went through and just kind of said, okay, who's who and where are they at? So that way I could really see like who are the politicians that aren't doing anything. So I started with Hal Rogers. So Hal Rogers is a 5th district rep in Kentucky, which is in the areas that I have been paying close attention to, like Somerset, Kentucky, London, Barbersville, and all the way up the eastern part of Kentucky, where all the, the mountainous regions of Kentucky, where it's a lot of backwoods towns. So Hal Rogers has been in Congress for 45 years. And his 5th district is the poorest district on this side of the Mississippi River. So what have you done, Hal Rogers, for 45 years? Because you sure as hell aren't empowering the people in your district. I know everybody's like, well, Hal Rogers did this and Hal Rogers did that. He did not change the dynamic of your region. He may do some nice things here and there just so he can get a highway named after him. But as far as the future planning of the eastern part of Kentucky, Hal Rogers is not getting it done. And this is what I'm saying. Like, a lot of the liberals get on my stuff and they're like, well, you only pick on the liberals. No, I pick on the Republicans too, because Hal Rogers is worthless. He is in the same category for me as Mitch McConnell. Mitch McConnell's been in Congress forever. He has done nothing except funnel money. Same thing with Hal Rogers. He's got his hand in so many things that he's getting kickbacks from that it's a wonder that he's gotten anything done in his district. And I went through on the TikTok and mapped all that stuff out. So if you want to see that, go on my TikTok and watch it. Another one is Thomas Massie. Now, I know his wife just died, and I probably shouldn't pick on him. But at the same time, at some point, Thomas Massie, you've got to do something besides vote no on everything. Like, the vote no thing isn't going to work. So you're in a heavy Trump district, and you're still voting no against Trump. So I'm wondering if maybe you could go poll your constituents and find out if you should be voting against President Trump and voting no on specific things that you continually want to vote no on. Because I don't think that your constituency would be very happy with some of the things that you voted no on. And so that's why it's important as voters to go look at your politician's voting record. And that's what I did. I went and looked at Thomas Massie's voting record, and he votes for the last 2 years. He's done nothing but no vote on anything that the Republicans have put together. So I'm wondering, like, do you even have a GOP card? Are you even a card-carrying Republican? I feel like you're not, because I don't want to say you have to do everything that the GOP wants to do, but at the same time, your president has a mandate. Like, maybe follow the mandate a little bit. Like, you're an automatic no on everything. And that's the same thing with Rand Paul. Rand Paul looked real good at first because he was on it on the COVID stuff. Like, he was just destroying Fauci. But then as soon as COVID became a non-issue anymore and they stopped paying attention to Fauci, then Rand Paul turned into Thomas Massie and started voting no on everything. So these are like your 4 major politicians in Kentucky. You've got 2 career politicians that have been there forever that don't care. Then you've got 2 politicians that are anti-Trump. So that's why Kentucky's not getting anywhere. They're so busy focusing on how do I get money or how do I piss off Donald Trump, where they're forgetting that. Forget all that. You guys, you represent constituents and you're not representing them properly. And so I called all those guys out. Then you look down at the local reps. Like in London, you have Brandon Storm. He's the senator for London. I don't have all their districts on there. I called the districts out on the TikTok episode, but you have like Brandon Storm. He has got his hands in all kinds of craziness, and he knows it, and everybody in the London area knows it. Shane Baker for the House. You got Derek Lewis for the House. You know, they say Derek Lewis is a good guy, but guess what? Your district is in shambles. You have an out-of-control London Police Department. You have an out-of-control mayor. Your sheriff's office is super sketchy too. So why are you not speaking up against those things? You're just going to let your whole district catch on fire? Because that's what's happening. And I had somebody get in my comments and say, well, they're not responsible for those things in their districts. I was like, what? What do you mean they're not responsible for? That's their district. They're responsible for every single thing in that district. People just don't, they want to pass the buck of responsibility all the time. Just because somebody came to their door and knocked on it and said, hey, will you vote for me, friend? That's not going to work. You got to see these guys put some action in, some movement. And that's what we're missing in these, with these politicians. They're not doing anything except special interest stuff. So, Derek Lewis may be a good politician. He may be a good senator or a House member, but I'm not hearing his name ever come up. I mean, that's good because he's not into no riffraff, but it's also not good because you're not standing up for the people in your constituency. That's your job. So while your whole county is being oppressed by your local government, what are you doing? Then House member Timothy Truitt, then Josh Bray in the House. Somerset has their senator is Rick Gridler. Once again, what are you doing? You've got bigger problems in your area than what London does, and you're turning a blind eye to it. You've had the FBI in there about 1,000 times in the last couple of years, and you're just like, I'm doing a great job. No, you're not doing a great job. You're not doing a great job. Then you got Shane Baker. He's in the House, so he represents London and Somerset. And then you got Josh Branscombe. What a name. What a name. I wonder if he's related to Gavin Newsom. But Josh Branscombe, and then Josh Bray, and Dave Mead, they're all in the House. Barberville has Robert Stivers. He's a senator for Barberville, the Barberville area, along with Williamsburg. He represents that area too. Tom Smith's in the House. Now, Robert Stivers, his name comes up an awful lot in my investigation. Now, I have not done a deep dive into him, but I have an idea of what I'm going to find. I've been given enough tips as to what he's involved in that I have a really good idea of what I'm going to find, along with some family members that are also in the voter fraud scheme. So he was actually arrested and tried for it. Not Robert Stivers, but one of his family members. But I'm going to cover that later. Williamsburg, you got Nick Wilson in the House, along with Robert Stivers as a senator. Now, then you have Corbin. Here we go. Brandon Storm again. Why are all the cops shooting all the people in the community? Same thing in London. Well, you got Brandon Storm going, I'm doing a great job, guys. Everybody, who wants to take a picture for the paper with me? That's not going to work. That stuff don't work. Man, we all know you're not doing anything. You get on there and you're like, I did this little tiny little thing. Congratulations. What have you said about Doug Harless? Nothing. Where are you at on Doug Harless? You've got the Walter Treblow situation going on in your county too. What are you saying about that? The Laurel County needs to identify the plots on that property because everybody has claim to the deed. Walter Treblow should be alive, but nobody wanted to map out the plot or plot out the map, whichever way it goes. They didn't do it. So Brainstorm, you got Nick Wilson in the House and Tom Smith in the House. So a lot of these guys cover several of these different areas. So that's my big week for Kentucky. I'm about to do something even bigger this week. I'm going to move on to 2 new counties because things have kind of quieted down. I think Mayor Weddle in London, there's a push to oust him. They're working on a recall on him. I even if he doesn't get recalled, I feel like he's going to get arrested pretty soon. I'm not going to chalk it up as guaranteed, but the guy is heading down the I'm probably getting arrested road. He's caused too many problems, and I think Andy Beshear is going to cut ties with him and let the attorney general get him. That's my personal opinion, though. I don't know anything. I'm just a dude who talks into this red microphone. And then I'm going to be moving into a couple different new areas. So one's going to be Somerset, and the things that I have found in that area is completely horrid, and it's a massive ordeal. I was already told by the feds that I should probably just stay out of that one, but I'm not really capable of listening to authority figures. So we'll see what happens. I told him, I said, I'll stay out of the way, but I'm still going to look into it and make sure you guys get all of them. Because I know how the whole system works. Either I'm not going to comment any further because then they'll get mad at me. But then there's another county that has a lot of really, really ridiculous things going on, and it's Pike. So that's going to be one that I'm going to be paying close attention to here pretty soon as well. I mean, it's no secret. Everybody in that region knows who I am now, so I can't really like hide and like go in there and be all sneaky. Like everybody already knows. So I just got to be upfront about it now. So then we got, we're going to get out of that. We're going to talk about the slush gate. So I had another really, really, really professional source come to me and say, hey, have you ever looked into slush gate? I said, no, I never heard of it. So I started looking into it, and basically this is the problem. It's just an earlier start to the problem of what's wrong with Kentucky. So back in 2018, in between the years 2018 and 2023, the Louisville has Louisville, that's how they say it down there. They have an elite police unit called the 9th Mobile Unit, and they're made up of the best cops they've got. So on 24 occasions, those guys would drive around all over the west and south end of Louisville, and they would be in an unmarked car. They'd be in plain clothes. And on 24 different occasions, they would run around and throw drinks on people or on cars, like acting like a bunch of stupid high school kids. Their job is to get guns and drugs off the street, but instead they're harassing the people in the disenfranchised communities. They were even recording them on their phones, and they were standing around the squad room watching the videos and laughing and joking about how cruel they are to their people. On one video I saw, they asked a woman if she had $1. She starts getting confused and starts thinking about finding $1. And then the officer goes, well, how about a drink then? And then threw his drink at her. And then they took off. Like, what's wrong with you guys? So 5 officers of that got suspended, including the superior of that group. But they only, like, the superior got a 30-day suspension. The rest of them got like 10 to 15 days. That's not enough to betray the trust of your community. These guys are making good cops look really bad. Same thing with all the other counties that I've been in. There's a lot of good cops out there, but when these guys do stuff like that, it makes good cops look bad. And that's what's happening. And then they give them a slap on the wrist. Well, 2-week vacation, you can come back and get paid again. That's not good enough. For the damage that they've done, the mistrust that they've caused in those communities that desperately need good cops to be there, they hurt the credibility. So it's interesting to see, what's going to happen after all that. And I heard that these guys all got pardoned, but I can't confirm that. I couldn't find it when I Googled it. So as of right now, they're still convicted of those things. They did get in trouble. So that's a big thing. And but they're, as far as I know, they're all back on the Louisville Police Department. I may be wrong on a couple of them, but it was a slap on the wrist for sure. So that's pretty much what's going on in Kentucky. This next week is going to be even bigger. I would expect some really big news coming out of some of these areas that I'm going to be covering. And it's bad. I've never seen more corruption in one state in a very short amount of time, like the active corruption that's going on right now. It's not like stuff that, well, I've collected all this over 100 years. No, the stuff that is going on right this moment, right now, I've never seen a state have so many problems at one time. Every day a cop shoots somebody in the state of Kentucky. And usually it's illegally. Like they'll shoot them in the back or whatever, or they'll hit them with their cruiser, run them over. It's nuts. It's nuts how this stuff goes on there. I've never seen a state like this. I've even had other cops from other states that watch my videos. They're like, what is wrong with Kentucky? Like, why do their cops behave like that? So they're just making themselves a laughing stock. And my job is going to be, I've almost said job. My job but my job is to make sure that people are aware, like that this isn't normal behavior. There should be consequences for some of these. It's just like last week we talked about the officer there in Corbin. He's an out of control cop. He's collecting bodies in several different jurisdictions. And I didn't even know about some of them until after I made my video. And everybody's like, "Oh, go check that. Go check that." I'm like, how many jurisdictions has this guy worked in? He's not that old, but he's got some mental problems, I think, and he needs off the road. But he needs to have his badge taken from him and his gun. So I know it's kind of a short episode today, but there's really not a lot going on in the world right now. It's all like kind of setting up for other things. So Sunday I'll be back. If you're a TikToker, I just passed 1.6 million views today. Thank you. It's weird seeing my videos be at 1.6 million for a total. It's crazy. But I'll be back Sunday. I'm out. Peace.